Dear students, good morning, assalamu alaikum. Today I would like to deliver a class on UNIT-3, Lesson-3, IBRAHIM by Martin Luther King Jr. About I Have a Dream, the information to know: it's a public speech delivered by American civil rights activist Martin Luther King Jr. The time was on August 28, 1963. The place was Lincoln Memorial. Over 250,000 civil rights supporters were present, a defining movement of the American civil rights movement. About Martin Luther King Jr. He was born on 1929 and was assassinated in 1968. An American Baptist minister, activist, humanitarian, leader in the African American civil rights movement. Best known for his role in the advancement of civil rights using non-violent civil disobedience. One of the greatest orators in American history. On October 14, 1964, he received the Nobel Peace Prize for combating racial inequality through non-violence. Background of the speech: the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom was partly intended to demonstrate much support for the civil rights legislations proposed by President Kennedy in June. Martin Luther King Jr. and other leaders therefore agreed to keep their speeches calm, also to avoid provoking the civil disobedience, which had become the hallmark, that is, seal of purity of the civil rights movement. King originally designed his speech as a homage to Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, timed to correspond with the 100 years centennial of the Emancipation Proclamation. King's speech invokes the Declaration of Independence, the Emancipation Proclamation, and the United States Constitutions early in his speech. King alludes, that is, provide past reference to Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address by saying 50 years ago, which is referred in Abraham Lincoln's original speech. In reference to the abolition of slavery articulated in the Emancipation Proclamation, King says, "It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity." Early in his speech, King urges his audience to seize the movement. Now is the time. Is repeated 3 times in the 6th paragraph. The most widely cited example of anaphora is found in the often quoted phrase, "I have a dream," which is repeated 8 times as King paints a picture of an integrated and unified American for his audience. Other occasions include 100 years later. We can never be satisfied with this fate. Let freedom ring and free at last. The main message of the speech. The ideas in the speech reflect King's social experience of ethnocentric views. Ethnocentric implies actually one is considering his own culture superior than other ones. The mistreatment and exploitations of blacks. The speech draws upon appeals to American myths as a nation founded to provide freedom and justice to all people, and then reinforces and transcends those secure mythologies by placing them within a spiritual context by arguing that racial justice is also in accord with God's will. To give African Americans the freedom and equality they deserve. Compositional strategies and techniques of the speech. The first half portrays of not an idealized American dream but a picture of a seething American nightmare of racial injustice. The second half of the speech paints the dream of better, fairer future of racial harmony and integration. The most famous paragraph carries the theme I would dream, and the phrase is repeated constantly to hammer home King's inspirational concepts. Three factors impact of the speech. The remarkable emotion of King's delivery in terms of both voice and body. The site at which it was delivered on the steps of the memorial to the president who defeated southern states over the issue of slavery. The mode of the day, a sense of perpetuated slavery among black people, and the gradual realization of a sense of guilt among the white people. Thank you for listening the introductory portion of the speech I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King Jr. Now come to the original text of Unit 3, Lesson 3. The following is a very shortened version of famous speech by Martin Luther King Jr. on 28th August 1963 in Washington, D.C., USA. Let us go through the text. Here T is within first bracket. This word indicate the or he himself. He himself means Martin Luther King Jr. Here actually Martin Luther King Jr. stands for the whole black people. He is the representative of the black people. The Negro is still not free. The life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. Crippled means disabled, lame, by the manacles, some sort of metal bands or chain for fastening someone hands or ankles, segregation, separation, and the chains of discrimination. The Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. Though America is very flourished in every angle, after then the Negroes are very poor. They are in a very dilapidated condition. The Negro is still languishing, suffering from being forced to remain in an unpleasant situation in the corners of American society, and finds himself an exile, banished or alien in his own land. So we have come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. That is, Martin Luther King, along with huge number of gathering, stand against this, against the suppression, oppression, and torture and deprivation caused by the white people in America. I said to you, that is Martin Luther King Jr. addressing to the people who are in front of him. I said to you today, my friends, Martin Luther King Jr. is addressing the common people as his friends. So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. Though they are suffering perpetually after then, he has dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up. Here we find Martin Luther King Jr. as a very optimistic and live out the true meaning of its creed, motto. Quote, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, unquote. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. That is, his speech is displaying the equality, justice, brotherhood, fraternity. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the suffering, which is suffering rigorously with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Very authentic and perpetual word. Actually, the Almighty has created human beings equally. That is, all people are created equally. They should not be judged by their outward display. They should be judged by their people, should be judged by the human beings, should be judged by their quality, brain, intellectuality, not by their outward skin and displaying. These are the words actually spoken by Martin Luther King Jr. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racist. Vicious means very wicked or roguish. With its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. Interposition means interference, and dripping means let fall or be so wet as to shed small drops liquid. Nullification, to nullify something, to cancel anything. That one day right down in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. Very friendly speech. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, will be joyous, every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. Actually, these are the words which indicates that all people are equal to one another. High and low, rich and poor, black and white, all are equal to one another, specially and particularly, actually, in the eyes of the Almighty. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I shall go back to the south with. With this faith, we shall be able to hew out of the mountains of despair a stone of hope. That is, despair will be disappeared. With this faith, will be able to transform the jangling discourse of our nation into beautiful symphony of brotherhood. This one also very optimistic. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. You can compare this para with the speech of some portion of the speech of Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And if American is to be a great nation, this must come true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Prodigious means very surprising and vast or colossal. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, and when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet. Village and hamlet synonymous to each other. After then, hamlet is smaller than village. From every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black and white men, Jews and Gentiles. Gentiles stands for Christians, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. This is the very shortened and abridged speech delivered by Martin Luther King Jr. If you want to go through the whole speech, original speech, search in Google, and in Google you can find out many more things about Martin Luther King Jr. and the speech. Then you will be enriched with much more information about this speech and the speaker. After then, you are asked to answer the following questions, which is given following by the speech. What is the text type? An article, a speech, or a short story? Who delivered it? What is the text about? Why did Martin Luther King Jr. have these dreams? Which of the above dreams do you appreciate more and why? What, according to Martin Luther King Jr., will be the ultimate benefit if his dreams come true? Do you think that Martin Luther King Jr.'s dreams have been fulfilled? Why or why not? Thank you for being with me in the class. So then enjoy a video clip on Martin Luther King Jr. and his speech.
I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. One day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring. And when it happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God.